G'day guys, welcome to another stream. I've got heaps to talk about tonight, so sorry about that in advance. And also, I'm not very good at counting, so there's a couple more than 10 in here. Couple of things with this. With the good old-fashioned rainbow fish, there's a few things to know. So the greater overarching classification is Melanotanidae, which includes pseudomogils, but today, because we don't want to be here for 10 hours, will just be the subfamily Melanotaniae. So that's like the Chalatherinas, Glossolepis, Melanotanias, not the pseudomogils. So just a little thing if you're wondering where the honey blue eyes are and all that, that's for a future topic. So this one here is the Melanotania garylangii, and this is named after the god of rainbows, our savior Gary Lang, and pretty impressive to get a rainbow named after you, and one that looks that good as well. So to get started, rainbow fish come from northern and eastern Australia, New Guinea, Cenderawasih Bay, and Raja Ampat in Indonesia and Madagascar. Okay, majority of them have sexual dimorphism, where the males are the more colorful and the females like more drab, browny, silvery sort of fish. So a lot of times people say, I'll keep a male only tank just to get the best looking ones. However, if you do just sneak a female in, you'll see much better coloration out of your males, because they want to show off, they'll be kicking around in their pajamas if there's no ladies around to show off for. So it's a good idea to put a female in, even if at the shop they do look like a little silver fish. So they will also show their best colors immediately after a water change and at first light. So if you're the type of person to only get to view your fish at like 7 p.m, then change your light cycle so that the lights come on at 7 p.m. if you keep rainbows, because then you'll see the best colors out of your fish. They kind of turn the light bulb on it in the morning and then slowly fade out across the day. So, and they're not like sort of Oscars who, when you do a water change, they'll sook and all that. When you do a water change, they'll actually, come and get amongst it. They love clean, fresh water as much as they can. So you can do as much water changes as you like, pretty much. But at least a good 50% water change is good. And it's best if you can view them immediately after that for the coloration. So if you are able to line it up and you do a water change immediately before the lights come on, then be prepared for a stunning show. They are called rainbow fish for a reason, and they'll show you a lot of colors. They're pretty flexible on the diet. They'll eat flakes, bloodworms, brine shrimp, krill, anything like that. In the wild, they eat mostly they are mostly insectivorous, so they eat insects on the water surface and stuff like that. The reason I love them is because, and there's not too many reasons not to love them really, but they're plant safe, fish safe, easy to breed, peaceful, colorful, and they have personality in spades. They'll be up the front of the glass, ready to greet you. They won't need any convincing at all. With that in mind, though, they are fast and kind of boisterous. Some of them get a bit larger, so you want to give them the space that they deserve. They're kind of like, one of those big cats. Don't put them in a little cage. Just give them the room to move, and their personality will come out in spades as well. And they also really do love interacting with their environment as well. So give them a nice planted tank, and they'll be happy for it. They're a spawning mop breeder, so put spawning mops in and they'll lay eggs every single day, so you can pull eggs as much as you like. However, they are easily crossbred, so ideally only keep one species of rainbow in a tank at a time. However, if you can't, just don't keep more than one Melanotania or more than one Chalatherina together, because they will crossbreed really easy. Most of them are big jumpers, so get some decent lids. And the fry are super small and slow growing. So if your intention is to breed, you'll need really small sized foods. Vinegar eels, golden pearls are some options. And they don't mind a bit of flow, because they are sort of these athletic sort of fish. They don't mind jumping on a bit of a treadmill with the flow. So don't be afraid of high-ish flow. The main thing that people come unstuck with is, in terms of disease, is tuberculosis. Rainbowfish do kind of get TB a fair bit. And it's a kind of an issue because TB can transfer to humans. So Microbacterium marinum can infect humans. So especially if you've got like an open wound or whatever, and you put your hand in the tank with a fish with TB, it can be a bit of an issue. So just look out for any sort of open wounds and stuff on the fish. And unfortunately, it's pretty much impossible to treat. So the best plan of attack is euthanizing them or putting them in their own tank. But it's a really painful thing. So most of the time, euthanizing is the best idea. If you notice that, if you're definitely sure that it's TB, I mean, for that reason, it's probably a good idea to isolate, trying to treat for other things first, and then determine if it is TB. So we touched on Gary Lang, who is the name behind this fish here. He is an absolute gun. There's plenty of videos of him on Facebook, which is a really great resource, and on YouTube, which is a really great resource. Also, Angfer have a really great Facebook page, and everybody is really helpful on there. And there's different ones for different states, and there's even a Angfer North America. And yeah, so you'll find an Angfer most parts of the world, who are a great group to connect with and talk rainbowfish. And if you are lucky enough to be nearby one of the conventions, I certainly found them to be really helpful, and you meet some really great people too. As well as that, I don't have a copy here, but they do release the Fishes of Sahul book every year. So that's a good read as well if you can get your hands on one. But they are a little bit on the rare side. On the topic of Angfer, this is the Melanitania Angfer. So pretty cool that they have a fish named after them as well. But neither of these made my list. To get started on the first one, so we'll start with the Chelatherinas that have made my list, and we'll talk a little bit about them. So the Angfer rainbow, Melanitania Angfer, can go away. And what we have here is Chelatherina blaheri. So this is named in honor of Heiko Blaher. Let's start again. So this is a Chelatherina blaheri. It's named in honor of Heiko Blaher, a German botanist and ichthyologist. Blaher's rainbowfish is from Lake Holmes in West Papua in Indonesia. And this guy has a preference for shallow, abundant plant life and lives in kind of like the foothill regions of jungles. So for pH, you want to keep them like 7 to 7.5. And for temp, 23 to 27. So on the cooler side, 73 to 80 Fahrenheit. So, I mean, 80 Fahrenheit, I guess, not that cool. It's 27, but yeah, sort of a good all-rounder. This can easily go in a planted tank, but we move on. So these guys are really cool. And just like all of these rainbows here, you know, you could take a photo 20 minutes later and it might be a different shade of color, which is kind of cool, but give you a rough idea of what it's going to look like. So that's the first one on the list, Chelatherina blaheri. And whilst we're on the topic of named after people, we've got the one that's named after Herbert Axelrod. This is a Chelatherina Axelrodi, and these guys were first collected in 1979 in a creek in the mountains of Papua New Guinea. So the location is fairly coastal, like only 40 kilometers inland, and it's close to the border. But yeah, these guys were found around subsurface vegetation, submerged logs and branches, that sort of thing. And the water is quite turbid, like there's a lot of stuff mixed up, and temperature of 28 Celsius, which is 82. So it's pH 7.8, so they can go a bit harder as well. And you do notice that with rainbowfish, some of them are softer water, some of them don't mind a bit of hardness, depending on where they're collected. So keep an eye on that, because a mistake that you can make sometimes is like, oh, it's a rainbowfish, it's a rainbowfish, it's a rainbowfish, put them all in together, and you've got 50-50 mix of alkaline water rainbowfish and acidic water rainbowfish. So just do a quick Google search before you throw them all in together. That's the second Chelatherina in the list and the last Chelatherina in the list. So we move on now to the Glossolepis. So in terms of Glossolepis, probably didn't really need a photo because there's a couple behind my head. But we get started with the Glossolepis incisors. This is commonly, well, it's got many names to be honest. They're called salmon red rainbowfish, red Irian rainbowfish, New Guinea red rainbowfish, and these guys are one of the larger rainbowfish you can find. The male is the one at the back, the colorful one, and the female is that sort of silvery color. And if I take that off, you can see a couple. I noticed they swam to that side, so you might see a few in real time, but there's a female right there, that sort of brown silvery sort of color. And in here I've got 2 males and 3 females, and there's the big male there. They do get a kind of a weird head shape, and depending on what you think of it, I'm personally not a fan, but they do come in balloon versions as well. But that's the Glossolepis incisors. You're seeing 2 different colors of rainbow fish. One's the female, one's the male, maybe? Not sure. Clarify that. So yeah, a lot of times people don't pick these up because they just look pretty awful in shops. The males don't start off that color when they're young. They're kind of like a more washed out orange, like really pale orange, but you can just sort of make out the orange. And the females will pretty much be the same color, just smaller. So these guys get about 15 centimeters, quite large, 6 inches. And when they're kept with both male and female, you'll really notice the colors come out. So yeah, it is worthwhile putting a female in, even though I totally agree with the thinking, it's kind of a waste of space putting in like a silver fish, people don't really realize. So these guys were found in 1907, and they're from West Papua New Guinea as well, near Jayapura. Temperature-wise, they can be cooler, 70 to 79, or 21 to 26. Yeah, I was thinking juvenile, but I thought a bit older than that, like middle school sort of thing. There is a word for it, but anyway, yeah, it's a missed opportunity. And pH-wise, 6.5 to 8.5, so they'll be hardy. They'll handle anything. So worthwhile addition. They can really get some nice contrast going against some of the other fish that we'll talk about today. Next one on the Glossolepis list is the Glossolepis wanamensis. This guy. These are really, really cool fish if you can get your hands on them. They're not the most common fish ever, but these guys come from Lake Wanam, which is hence the name Wanamensis in Papua New Guinea. The lake is quite shallow, small. It's in a valley again, so the lake has like patches of water lilies and other vegetation as well. So, it's good to sort of mimic that if you can. Shallow, clear water is perfectly fine. Males get about 10 centimeters on these guys, 4 inches, and they're going to want it a bit hotter. So because it is that shallower water, it obviously heats up a bit more. So 77 to 86 Fahrenheit for these guys, 25 to 30, and pH 7 to 8. So they don't really handle the acidic water too well. But these guys are a really great color once again, and sort of a unique color. You don't usually get those sort of greens coming through that you do see in these. So the next one on the Glossolepis list here is the Glossolepis multisquamata. This is also known as the Sepik rainbowfish, and these guys are from Indonesia. The term multisquamata means many scales, and that's because it shows a bunch of different colors on each scale. So that's kind of where the name comes from. The males are very flashy, these guys, and it does vary fish from fish, but they have reddish, rosy sort of colors as well. So they're also known as the rosy rainbow fish. And they're strong, active, and fairly large. So these guys are 12 centimeters, about 4.8 inches. Thanks, Aquamate. The Sepik rainbow was described in 1922 and is found in West Papua New Guinea, the Memberamo River but there's a number of tributaries. Temperature-wise, you want to keep these guys hot again, 79 to 86, 26 to 30, and acidic pH this time, so 6.2 to 6.8. But yeah, if you can get your hands on these, they can be a bit spendy once again, but a really nice rainbow fish once again. Now we're going to get into the bread and butter. We're through with the Glossolepis. through with the Chilatherina. We're into the good stuff now. We're into the Melanotanias. These are the ones that you've probably seen at your fish store, and there's some really nice variety to be had. There are so many of these. I'll just get straight into it, I guess. And this one, first off, is, I reckon, like a bit underrated. This is kind of like the Bosemani's, not evil. The Bosemani's like cool cousin, you know, who has a motorbike, wears leather and stuff. And this is the Melanotania Parkinsoni. So they're kind of like a little bit Bosemani-ish, but they're a bit more orange, and they've got the nice longer fins. And yeah, I just think that they're sort of often overlooked for Bosemani, but they have a very unique fin shape about them, so it's worthwhile giving them a look. So there's not any other species that quite looks like this. The front half is a silvery blue, back is orange, but the fin extensions are what really show off these guys. These guys are fairly recent into the hobby, but they get around the 15 centimeter length, so like quite big, 6 inches. And they're related to the Splendido rainbows, which we'll talk about in a short moment. Really beautiful fish, nice personality, and very hardy as well, so pretty good for beginners. They were found in 1980, so only 40 years ago, and it was originally called the orange rainbow fish, and they're found in Papua New Guinea, and it was named in honor of Brian Parkinson, who was often a companion of Gerald Allen. So you'll find that there's not too many names in terms of who is actually doing the work, exploring and finding all these rainbow fish. So Gerald Allen is a massive name in the rainbow fish world. So yeah, Parkinsoni rainbow fish inhabit coastal lowland streams surrounded by rainforests, and in the wild they eat filamentous algae and insects. So similar sort of diet than the rest of them as well. Temperature wise, 70 to 79, 21 to 26, and pH range is flexible, again 6.5 to 8.5. So that could be a good choice there, especially if you like the Bosemani's, but everybody's got them. Maybe give a bit of a consideration to the Parkinsoni. So the next one on the list is a pretty chunky number. This is a Goiter River rainbow fish. They're actually a trifasciata rainbow fish, Melanotania trifasciata, from the Goiter River. So there are a number of different trifasciatas, and they do have a different color morphs. This one's the one that's widely available. These guys get 12 centimeters, 5 inches, which, yeah, you can. There's a couple of stores around me that have a display aquarium with this, or they used to at least, and they get really, really nice coloration as well. So these guys are from Australia, or do I have it on the map here? Oh, I do. I can show you where they're from. They're from this area of Australia, the top end, and they have, yeah, basically a distribution along the northern side of Australia, from the Mary River in Northern Territory through Arnhem Land and the Gulf of Carpentaria. In northern Queensland, they're found as far as like Gap Creek and the Bloomfield River. These guys prefer temperature ranges from 72 to 75, 22 to 24, and pH 7 to 8.3. So these are harder water guys, once again. Pretty much because they come from more coastal regions where the limestone exists. So that's the Goiter River. And the next one on the list is Splendido rainbows are next. These little characters here, I've kept some Splendidos before, and they're super underrated. Like, they're not, there's a bunch of different types of them, depending on where they're collected. Currently, there's 4 different types. And yeah, they just basically have different coloration, pattern, fin counts, although yeah, they're all classified as Melanotania splendida. So they're from the eastern side of Australia, swampy areas, lagoons, streams and rivers, and the areas they're from have very seasonal changes in temperature and water level. So they're found under aquatic vegetation and stuff like that. So 15 centimeters as the size for these guys, 6 inches, and they will be super hardy in terms of temperature. So it's 68 to 86 in nature, and in the aquarium about 77 to 82 should be a good one. So around about the what is that, like the 25, 26 sort of mark, and aim for neutral pH. But in the wild, they can go anything from 5 to 8, so huge variety. If you're looking for a nice hardy fish, Splendido rainbows are a good one. So the next one's a classic, and we were talking about this earlier. This is the Praecox rainbowfish, the dwarf neon rainbowfish. Yeah, I love dwarf neon rainbowfish. I've got a couple of them, and they're a ripper. So they're on the smaller side. They're not the smallest, though. So there's a Melanotania Praecox, and these guys are really smart, actually. They're really hard to net, especially if you've tried to net them before, and they seem to have a good idea of what's going on outside of the tank. They've got really nice blue sheen to them, red fins for the males, yellow fins for the females. The females will also be slightly less neon blue, but they still have nice colors too. And these guys have a bunch of names as well. So they're called the neon rainbowfish, dwarf rainbowfish, peacock rainbowfish, Praecox rainbows, diamond rainbows, dwarf blue rainbows, and many, many more. So these guys were described in 1922, but introduced into the hobby in 1992, and they're found in jungles of Western New Guinea. They inhabit slow, swift-moving waters, and they usually live in water that stays 75 to 82 degrees with a pH of 6.5. So in the aquarium, keep them between 72 to 79, like 22 to 26 Celsius, and they'll be tolerant of a range of pH of 6.5 to 8. They'll be fine. The thing is as well that these guys, where they're from, the area hasn't really been explored too well, so it's not certain how far they actually reach. And yeah, because they are a bit on the smaller side, you can keep them in your 3-foot tanks and stuff like that, where some of the others I wouldn't recommend doing that. Next one is, speaking of cold temperatures, the next one fits the bill. This here is a Murray River rainbowfish, Melanotania fluviatilis. Anyway, we'll move on from that. The Australian rainbowfish, Murray River rainbowfish, is named because it is indigenous to Australia, but it's also got names like crimson spot rainbowfish, inland rainbowfish, and these guys are really, really hardy. If you are not sure about which way to start and you're a bit concerned about the hardiness, these guys are the way to go. Males in the shop as well, they won't look colourful. You'll wonder why anybody would buy them, but that's because once you get them home, especially if you get males and females and good foods like we're talking about with every fish, they'll show you some really nice rewards for effort picking them up, and they'll give you some nice coloration. So they're really good for beginners, tolerant of, really tolerant of temperature and water parameter changes. So they're a nice one. These guys were found in 1878, which is a super long time ago. And where they're from, the pH is quite high, 8+, but they also migrate to lower pH areas around 6. So for that reason, they're super hardy, basically. And where they live as well, basically in the Murray River, is... they live in other rivers though too, but it's a climate that has a lot of season changes too. So for that reason, they're adaptable to water parameters, temperature swings, and everything else. So they're a super hardy fish. In terms of recommended temperature, 21 to 26 degrees is where you want to sit, but pH range, anything 6.5 to 8.5 will be fine. Kind of a really cool one if you're looking for a pond option too. The old Murray River rainbowfish. They're one of the few fish that there will be a year-round pond option. So yeah, give them a consideration. The Melanotania lacustris, the turquoise rainbowfish. Photo, once again, kind of looks a bit different to mine, but depends when the photo was taken, what conditions and all that. So Melanotania lacustris, turquoise rainbowfish. These guys are also known as the Lake Ketubah rainbowfish, and that's because they only come from Lake Ketubah in southern highlands of Papua New Guinea. These guys are always changing colors, like I sort of said, but around the bluish spectrum they'll look like. So 12.5 centimeters in length, 5 inches. Really active, outgoing, and yeah, they're not scared of anything really. These guys, they'll be straight, lining up first for the food. Similar story, when you see them in the fish shop, you'll notice them as like a sort of white gray fish that won't really have much appeal, but get them home and they'll turn on the colors. Yeah, there's some environmental destruction going on in Lake Ketubah, so it is important that these guys are kept at least in captivity, because realistically they might not exist in the wild for much longer. There's underground springs that feed this lake, so the pH is around 8.5 to 9 in the wild, really alkaline. There's a heap of limestone from these underground springs, so 70 to 79 temperature-wise, 21 to 26, bit cooler, but higher pH, 7 to 8.5. All right, so that's enough for the turquoise rainbow, but it is one of my favorites. All right, next one on the list is the world's smallest Melanitania rainbowfish. These are the pygmy rainbows, Melanitania pygmea, and as you can see from this tiny red dot here, they come from a very localized area of Australia in WA, and the Prince Regent River is currently the only known habitat of the Melanitania pygmea. I have one of these. Actually, there's one of them, but these are a really cool fish. They were first discovered in 1974, so not too long ago. And just like the name suggests, the pygmy rainbow is a very small rainbow fish. 5 centimeters is the max size on these. The males are more colorful, but they've got a really nice sort of pale blue sheen to them, and they get a bit yellowy on the head and stuff like that. So it's really nice looking fish. And they have a lateral stripe along the body too. Keep the water temp a bit on the lower side, 23 to 28, 73 to 82, and pH around neutral. So they don't need the hardness in the water or anything like that. But these can be a really great option if you're looking for a rainbow fish for a smaller tank, like maybe that 60 litre, like a 2-foot tank, something like that, or what's that, like a 15 gallon. I think they'll be fine in there. And they'll show you some really nice personality. A great alternative to, like a rummy nose tetra or something like that. We'll keep moving. We're actually on to the last one on the list. Oh, no, second last. There's a bonus fish on the list. So the last one, it wouldn't be much of a list without this one on it. So you can probably guess what it is. Melanitania Bozeman's rainbow fish. Also, this is commonly misspelled too. A lot of people spell it Bosemani, but it's actually Boeseman. That's his last name. So anyway, a bit of a fun or not so fun fact. These guys are relatively new to the hobby. Obviously, they're super popular. They're really active and a good size, about the 11.5 centimeter mark, 4.5 inches. Looking at a mature male makes it easy to see why they are the bicolor rainbow fish. They're only found in waters of the tributaries of Lake Ayamaru, Haine, and Atinjo. And with the different tributaries, they will have a slightly different coloration. For example, the Atinjo is going to be a lot more orange in the back half than the others. So some of them you'll find to be yellowish and pale blue, and other ones will be like really nice dark blue and orange. Unfortunately, a lot of the ones in the hobby are not truly Bosemani rainbow fish. They've been crossed over the years, so there's not a lot of pure Bosemani in the hobby. They're from swampy areas, dense vegetation once again, and they're mainly insectivorous. They were described in 1980, and they're from Western New Guinea. I think I covered that. So yeah, give these guys the room to move. Let them spread their wings and spread their fins. So temperature-wise, 70 to 79, 21 to 26 is good, and any pH 6.5 to 8. But yeah, they don't mind a bit of flow either. And they're an awesome fish, and you can see why they're one of the most popular ever in the rainbow fish world. So that's the list of that's the list of Glossolepis in Chalatherina and Melanitania rainbows. But I thought I'd just sneak in a bit of a bonus one too, because I keep these and I think they're awesome, and they wouldn't really fit onto like the Pseudomogil list if I decide to do that down the track. So I decided to put them in here because why not? These guys are pretty cool. So these are Radinocentris ornatus, ornate rads, commonly referred to as. So the ornate rads are a species of rainbow fish, and they come from Eastern Australia. They're the only known member of the genus. So they're small and slender, maximum length of 6 centimeters, 2.4 inches. Female is a bit smaller than that, like 4 centimeters or 2, like just a bit shy of 2 inches. And these guys are easy to keep, but since they're so small, just make sure you keep them with like things that aren't going to bother them too much. They are, they're a bit on the smaller side, so keep them with peaceful things and you should be okay. They're a soft water fish, and they don't mind a bit of the lower temp either, 23 to 28, 73 to 82, and below 6.5 pH if you can. So once again, they will actually, all of these rainbow fish will easily take prepared foods like flakes, no problem at all. But yeah, if you can supplement with Daphnia, brine shrimp, and other nice, like a fluval bug bite or a North Fin Bug Pro, something like that, with a bit of insect material in it, then that'll be good too. And they'll also appreciate some natural algae in the aquarium too, because they'll supplement with that. So they come in a huge variety of colors. For that reason, I threw the ornate rads into the list, and I thought that it would be remiss of me not to mention them at all, and that was likely to happen if I didn't include them today. So that's the ornate rads for you. Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that one. Hopefully it was fun to listen to. Maybe got a bit inspired. Maybe I coaxed someone to consider a rainbow fish in the future. But I certainly like them, and yeah, I think they're important. In the States, a lot of people will be familiar with the CARES program, and a lot of these rainbow fish are on the CARES list too. So if you want to get some extra points at your clubs, you could also keep them as a CARES fish too, dedicate a bit of a tank to them. But if you do want to raise the babies, you're going to need a fair bit of space, or you could use those hang-on breeder boxes and stuff, but it's going to take a while to raise up those babies, and you want to keep them pretty much at eye level so you can keep a good eye on them, make sure they're eating and all that stuff. Floating foods is what you want. They're pretty much not going to eat anything like from mid to bottom of the water column, so that's the reason I suggest vinegar eels, because they do stay up the top of the water column. And yeah, a lot of the powdered foods, even a lot of the powder foods, like I think first bites and stuff, even it's a tiny powder, but I think that's still too big for like a dwarf neon rainbow fish's fry to eat first up. So apparently golden pearls are good, but I can't find any down here. So pretty much I just use vinegar eels, and I use actually some coral food. I use some, I think it was, yeah, like powderized food for zoanthids or something like that. And that seems to do well, but it does muddy up the water a fair bit too, which they're not going to appreciate. So something like that, one of those hang-on breeder boxes will be good. Brine shrimp when they're a bit larger, because brine shrimp are a good one, because they're also going to go, if you got a light on the top of your tank, then they'll go towards that too. Hopefully you enjoyed this evening. I think that will just about wrap it up.